All right, second part of clarity of vision here. Let's go.
Vision and continue. So as mentioned, it could be abstract or specific goals. It could be a spiritual goal, a mental goal, such as I want to identify certain aspects within myself that really are who I am. I'm on the journey of finding myself. It could be an emotional goal. I want to feel a certain way. I want to experience, for example, the workplace that I work in to be more flow-based rather than stress-based. It could be physical goals. It could be a
All right, so let's continue here.
and I then realized if I see them as one, I can enjoy this journey and run through this exact process that we're going through together in this program to reveal and grow and then bring forth the vision and then commit to another vision and continue. So as mentioned, it could be abstract or specific goals. It could be a spiritual goal, a mental goal, such as I want to identify certain aspects within myself that really are who I am. I'm on the journey of finding myself. It could be an emotional goal. I want to feel a certain way. I want to experience, for example, the workplace that I work in to be more flow-based rather than stress-based. It could be physical goals, could be a fitness goal, could be a certain amount of money, could be a material goal, or it could be a combination of these things. And what I like to do is reflect back on the logical levels, because what I know is that whatever goal I pick, that's the vision. And then what happens is the journey. I form my identity. I reveal what I'm identifying with as well. I adjust my values and beliefs to be more accurate to who I am and related to the vision. I cultivate my capabilities further. Some of the goals that you're looking to achieve may not involve capabilities, but we're looking at this full spectrum just in case they do so that you can reflect upon it. Behaviors, so capabilities, skills, behaviors, and environment. Now, a specific goal would be something like $10,000 a month in business or $20,000 a month in business. A general goal would be something like, I want to create business success and be worth X amount in 5 years, but it's not as specific as a monthly income goal. So what do you pick, general or specific? Well, upon having many conversations and being involved in consulting and coaching in this space now for a number of years, deeply reflected, so many phone calls, many in-person sessions, and so forth, I realized that some can benefit from a more abstract goal and some can benefit from a more specific goal. This is really about yourself within. Maybe more general would be a certain kind of relationship that you would like to have. Maybe more specific would be the details and attributes of that partner that you want to attract. The same is to be said about business goals. It could be a money goal. It could be general. I just want to do something, discover something that I love to do, that I'm good at, that the world needs, that I can get paid for. General like that. As long as you get started on the journey, you realize that the actions or the commitment bring forth higher degrees of clarity. So you can come back to these videos. And by the way, I created this program to be evergreen. So you can come back to it and go through it again and again as you bring forth your visions and get higher degrees of clarity. So as mentioned, do what you love to do, what the world needs, what you're good at, and what you can get paid for. Now, this is something that inspires.
All right, so the flexibility in this is incredible, but I hope the results are too. Let's continue.
The Ikigai book that I read. It's a term that essentially means doing what you love to do, what the world needs, what you are good at, and what you can get paid for. Now, there's many books on this particular subject, and I'll put a link in the resource section to an Amazon book that I read that really helped me with this. And these were the 4 attributes. I said, this makes a lot of sense. In the entrepreneurial world, if I do what I love to do and the world needs and I'm good at what I get paid for, that's a sweet spot. That's a great business, so that it adjusts, so that it reflects these attributes, provided that these attributes resonate with you. Now, if your goal is not in relation to getting paid for, you don't have to get paid for. But what we find is that when you do what you love to do, or you commit to what you love, you'll automatically start enjoying this journey a lot more. You'll bring forth a higher degree of focus. And you will reveal what I refer to as flow breakers, aspects that break your flow, your day-to-day flow on your journey. We'll talk about flow in the program, as well as certain kinds of inner resistance-based beliefs that you have, and change them using the methodologies in the program. So I want to share with you another aspect of my journey. I loved IT growing up. Computers was my thing. It was then leading me down the pathway over to, because actions bring forth clarity, into the corporate world, IT. From there, I left and started an IT business. During that time when I was in corporate, it was what I loved to do. It was what the world needed. The company needed it. It was a big Fortune 500 company. I was good at. I inherently had those capabilities. I was further cultivating them, and I was getting paid to do it. And as I continued to advance in my career, I was getting paid more and more, getting paid really well, and could have made a large income from that particular sector in the industry that I was in. However, I decided to go into entrepreneurship because I wanted to combine the IT capabilities with the entrepreneurship journey. So I went into build my own IT business from 2009 to 2013. Again, I was doing what I love to do, what the world needs, what I'm good at, what I get paid for. And then I decided to transition away from it because I was no longer feeling it. It's now time for me to move on, which then brought me into what I do now, which is coaching, consulting, creating these programs, joint ventures, partnerships, investing, and other things that normally we would consider to be a conglomerate of a bunch of different activities. More, we would call it, we would label it more advanced business stuff. However, it feels more natural to me now based on how I am, because I am the kind of person that can handle large volumes of complexity and simplify it. It's part of my attributes. Now I'm sharing this with you so that you can recognize the importance of sticking with a vision. So whatever it is that you commit to, whatever it is that you create here, realize that not only does it bring you a lot of joy to have that success at the end, but you'll also value the journey, and it will lead you down other pathways as you continue this. This is a lifelong journey. Now, flow or controlled chaos, I want to bring this to our awareness. What we're aiming to do is have more of a flow, fun, loving-based journey to our vision. That's the goal of this program. However, there are circumstances that can happen as a result of placing ourselves in the journey to our vision, which I would call controlled chaos. Such as in the entrepreneurial journey, a person might be met with an unexpected setback. Now, working with this program will help a person identify what needs to be done in the logical levels to be able to transmute that particular obstacle into an opportunity. And then they develop a higher degree of skill, self-confidence, self-esteem. They understand more. They have a greater nuanced discernment. They have more wisdom, knowledge, experience. And perhaps that activity that was more controlled chaos, and I like the word controlled chaos because it implies that you consciously place yourself on this journey to the realization of your vision. And if there was something that showed up that wasn't as flow-based, you know that you have the tools to be able to ascend past it. And it was actually going to build you to a higher degree of who you really are. And also, to add to that, that controlled chaos will then become a flow-based activity. Such as, for example, I love sales. I love leadership. I love any kind of deal making. Used to be controlled chaos in some of those regards because I did not have the capabilities. I had inner resistance as a result of my beliefs. My identity was off. But it was my vision to create a certain level of entrepreneurial success and even ascend higher. So those controlled chaos, as I embraced them, those particular events in my life, I understood, I learned, I grew. And as a result of that, I find flow in deal making, in sales, in leadership, in public speaking, and so forth. So as much as we want flow and fun and joyousness on the journey, we can experience controlled chaos. And I purposely even put myself in more challenging projects as a preference in the matter because these control chaos reveal aspects within the values and beliefs that I have, the identity that I have. The attributes are brought forth as a result of awareness that we're cultivating in this program via the experience that we're having that we would call control chaos. Now, there's also chaos, which is things that might not be related to the vision, but somehow show up in life for whatever the reason may be. Something that you didn't consciously place yourself in, like the entrepreneurial journey, but something outside of that. And what you'll find is you'll be better equipped to deal with those chaos-based circumstances if they show up. Such as, for example, a sudden shift in the marketplace. And now all of a sudden the way of doing business has changed. Many have embraced the offline world for a lot of business activities, and they were building very profitable businesses offline. And then all of a sudden the internet came along and started to grow, and people went online with those particular markets. And for them, it was experienced as kind of a chaos. Now they have to change their business model around. But if they maintain their flow and they embrace the stuff that we're talking about here, then they were able to adjust a lot easier because they didn't find themselves as reactive. So you can make your goals about spiritual regard, specific, and I'm going through all these aspects here so that it can stimulate your mind as we go through the exercise, because you'll be able to reflect back on this video and craft your goal accordingly. It could be spiritual, and by the way, a combination, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. It can include attributes like doing what you love to do, what the world needs, what you're good at, what you can get paid for. It can also allow you to enjoy other areas of your life, or it can incorporate other areas of your life, such as spiritual, intellectual, physical, family, social, career, and financial. One of the things that I like to do is link my vision over to everything else in my life. So I could have a specific number-based business goal, but it would imply spiritual growth, intellectual growth, physical growth, family development and relationships, social, career, financial, and so forth. Because I weave it all together, and we'll go through the program, you'll understand how you do this consciously, knowing that subconsciously we already have these kinds of associations and we want to bring them into alignment with the vision, thus creating a automatic, lighthearted, high degree of focus and attention towards our vision. Now, one of the things that we want to keep into consideration is that motivation tends to fall in one of two categories. Either you're moving towards something that will bring us pleasure, or we're moving away from something that causes us pain. So think about this for a moment. Why does somebody create a vision? Well, maybe they don't like the existing life experiences that they have. Maybe they don't like the job that they're in, or the career that they're in, or the business that they're in, or the style of relationship that they have right now. And they want to experience something else. So when they think about this something else, they feel an enormous amount of pleasure towards the potentiality of having that experience. Or perhaps there's a lot of pain in the current circumstances, the current environment, the current way of living, and a person wants to change that. So it's not necessarily one or the other, although some of us might be more motivated by moving towards pleasure or moving away from pain. It could be a combination of these things. For example, when I went down the entrepreneurial path, I wanted to move away from the pain of not having the freedom that I wanted and the feeling of restriction that I had in the career that I was working, that although it was beneficial up until a certain point, I felt it was restrictive on where I wanted to go next. That was personalized to me. And so I wanted to move away from that pain. And then I was also moving towards pleasure, because for me, it was a dream of mine to become an entrepreneur, to help people and to provide services and create them in a way that I know would deliver lots of value, would bring me lots of happiness in my life, and I would get paid really well for doing it. That was an enormous source of pleasure, the idea of that. So it could be a combination of pleasure and pain, moving away from pain and moving towards pleasure, or one or the other. That's why we create these visions. So knowing this is important as we move into the exercise. Now, one of the things we want to keep into consideration is our motivation. And all these things are going to play a role when it comes to reprogramming the subconscious mind and building a relationship with the subconscious mind, because we're getting to know ourselves. Power, achievement, and affiliation. There's a motivation theory that has found that we generally tend to fall into one of these categories or a combination of them. Power, those that are motivated by power, want to be in charge, enjoy competition, and they do well with goal-oriented projects or tasks. Someone who's more achievement-focused is motivated by overcoming obstacles, difficult problems, and creating solutions that they feel a high degree of fulfillment and enjoyment when they're able to overcome, transmute obstacle into opportunity. Some are more affiliation based. People do things so that they can be in harmony with others. Why do we create a vision for an individual like this? Because then they feel more connected and in harmony with others. They do this for the community. They do this for a cause related to people and so forth. That's why they go into their subconscious and work with this information, because it'll bring forth more of that affiliation. There's a desire for it. Now, it could be a combination. A person can say, I want to have the power, as I do, we were talking about this earlier, to have the freedom to be able to live where I want, do what I want, and also be able to afford the kind of lifestyle as a result of that freedom and have the flexibility to enjoy that lifestyle, which entrepreneurship allows me to do. That can be looked at from a place of power, inner power, as well as external world power, because I believe that gives me more options as to what I can do with the resources. Now, achievement can also be integrated in that, because I could say I like to overcome obstacles and turn them into opportunities. That's a great source of joy for me. And I love sharing it with others. It brings me great joy to share this information with you and help others also achieve what they want in their life, not necessarily in the entrepreneurial space, but in other areas. So what is it for us? Some of us may have one strong orientation towards one of these attributes versus others, or some of us have more of a combination. These are the important things to keep into consideration. So as a result of reflecting upon this, I know this was a whole bunch of stuff here. Upon maybe listening to this a handful of times, it'll become deeper embedded in an understanding and the recognition of this program is about a natural way of being. I believe that this is a natural way of living, having a relationship with your subconscious, having the ability to go within and change these attributes and understand yourself in the process, know thyself. Natural way of living. And so these attributes are natural aspects that are within us. We want to have a goal, a vision to some degree, clear or abstract. We recognize that the journey is as revealing as the destination as far as what's within ourselves, and we enjoy the journey. We also want to have our attention going on where we want it to go so that we can have focus. We want to value the journey, perhaps in different stages of the journey, the different attributes, or at a certain stage of your journey, all the attributes, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. We want to cultivate a higher degree of skill. We want to optimize our behaviors. We want ideal environments. We want our values and beliefs to be congruent to our vision and spirit of harmony so that we have this identity, so we can have this quality of character, this identity, and we'll talk about quality of character in the program, identity that is in harmony with the vision and spirit of harmony with all. We also want to do what we love to do, what the world needs, and get paid for doing it, and also something that further cultivates your natural abilities. We want to experience more flow. We want to, if controlled chaos shows up on the journey, deal with it accordingly, and thus have a greater ability to deal with unexpected chaos that may show up. And we want our lives to be, perhaps in some stages, more focused on some of these areas, or one of these areas, or at a certain point, more integral, spiritual, intellectual, physical, family, social, career, and financial. We also want to know thyself. What are we motivated by? Moving away from pain in certain things, moving towards pleasure in certain things. And also what drives us? Motivation as far as, do we want the power? Do we want the achievement? Do we want the affiliation, or a combination, or a certain ratio of those? And this brings us to what we're going to craft now. So let's talk about the exercise. So again, We always like to refer to the logical levels because it would take what would otherwise appear as a lot of information and consolidate it into the process and realize that this is a journey. So you don't.
All right, so we're going to leave this here and we're going to get into the exercises, the final part of this. So really, really powerful middle part of this on the vision. And then they're going to get into the exercise. So very, very well done. And a lot of stuff I really can relate to. Take a look at what he does here. Let me get his name again. All right, so this is by Joseph Rodrigues. I didn't know his first name right off the top of my head. But we'll continue with this last part in the exercise. So look at his programs. I think they're really well written. Good day.